enzymes, a finite amount that we can produce, and we never can produce any more in our life. We cannot add or deposit enzymes, we can certainly withdraw them. The key? To minimize withdrawals. He also believed that the more enzymes you have, the more youthful you are. And when your enzymes are exhausted, you are no more. I believe Dr. Howell because I've seen diets go from enzyme-rich to enzyme-poor who suffer greatly. I'm going to share with you 4 ways you can preserve your enzyme bank account. Number 1, this will shock you, I'm sure. Eat only when hungry. Some of you are thinking, hunger, oh right. It was a Tuesday, 1992. Folks, we in America, we don't know what hungry is. If we even have the beginnings of hunger, it should be capital punishment, right? Now, when we're parents of kids, if they ever say they're hungry, if we don't shove something in their mouth that second, we feel incredibly guilty. Folks, if you are hungry, you are ready to eat. I don't care if you're eating carrot juice, sprouts, and flaxseed crackers. If you are full, you will not digest it. So eat when you're hungry. It is good for a number of things. Number 2, chew your foods thoroughly. Many of you remember as a child your mother saying something to the effect of, "Hey Jordy, don't swallow your food, you need to chew it, you're just inhaling it." Well, she didn't say Jordy, and don't call me that because that used to be my nickname and it's not. But you get the point. When you chew your food, something important happens. In fact, when you see or smell appetizing food, something begins to happen. Your mouth waters or salivates. Now, the reason being is that there is a powerful enzyme in your saliva. It's called ptyalin. Don't write it down, it starts with a P. Ptyalin is a salivary enzyme that breaks down carbohydrates. If you want to put this to the test, take some whole grain plain bread or cereal and chew a bunch of times. What's bland will turn sweet as the starches are broken down into sugars. I also want to tell you folks that I believe firmly that all digestive issues are rooted in an inability to properly digest carbohydrates. I'm convinced of it. From gas bloating, indigestion, to serious conditions like ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, diverticulitis, celiac disease. We're going to talk more about that later. I also want to teach you 2 sayings that are critical. Number 1, you're not what you eat, you're what you digest. Number 2, that which you eat and do not digest can and will be held against you in a court of health. When you eat something that you don't digest, it doesn't just disappear, it rots and breeds toxicity. Chewing your food can be an answer. Now, there was a man by the name of Horace Fletcher who lived, 80-some years ago. He was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called Addison's. Very thin and frail, doctors said he was going to die. Fletcher wasn't really satisfied with that, so he decided to embark on a study of human health and animal health. And he determined that they chewed each mouthful of food 50 to 100 times, and we do it like 3. Horace Fletcher determined to chew himself back to health. And according to an article in Physical Culture magazine, he did just that. Not only did he cure himself of his disease, according to the article, he spawned a whole group of followers called Fletcherizers. The only way to get into that club was to chew each mouthful 50 to 100 times. Now, this might seem tedious to you, but if you have digestive issues, it'll be the best thing you do. And guess what? You'll eat less because it's your brain that tells you you're hungry, not your belly. And by chewing more, your brain gets a chance to really know you ate. Chew your food more thoroughly. It'll be a chore in the beginning. You'll shut down a few restaurants, be a boring dinner date, but eventually it will be second nature. But it's really first nature. Number 3, eat more raw foods. You're going to hear this a lot from me. Do you know that raw foods contain the exact amount of enzymes to break themselves down? Throw a banana on your lawn, and a few days or weeks later, it'll be completely gone. Throw white bread on your lawn, it just gets sloshed around. Any raw food has the digestive enzymes in it to break it down, with the exception of nuts, seeds, legumes, and grains. Those you can soak first, and low temperature dehydrate or put at the lowest setting of your oven, and it will reduce the enzyme inhibitors that are part of these seeds. And they're part of the seeds because they don't want birds or other prey to eat them all, and they'll never be able to reproduce. So that's a reason in nature. More raw foods gives you better digestion. And number 4, take a digestive enzyme supplement with every cooked and processed meal. I do it. I don't eat processed foods, but I eat some cooked foods. And when I do, I take my digestive enzymes. I formulated one called Omegazyme Ultra. Now think about it. Someone who knows what it's like to have digestive issues knows that you need to break down those proteins, carbs, fats, grains, and dairy, nuts, seeds, legumes, and cruciferous vegetables. When you eat at a restaurant, you don't know what you're getting in your food that is unwanted. Your enzymes, when they're at high alert, can help to break down germs into harmless proteins, another great benefit. Taking an enzyme supplement with your meals, eating more raw foods, chewing more thoroughly, and eating when hungry can help preserve your enzyme bank account and set you up for ongoing digestion and detoxification health. The fourth step to digestion and detoxification health, you've heard about going green in the environment. I want to encourage you to go green on the inside. If there's one thing I've learned on my ranches, we don't farm beef or lamb. We don't farm dairy. We don't farm produce. We farm the soil, the sun, and the tiny solar panels that capture the sun's energy called green leaves. And they make up the foundation of the diet for humans and animals. You want to be extraordinary? How would you like to get a 99.9% on your health grade? Well, that's what you get if you consume 3 to 5 servings of leafy greens a day, because only 1/10 of 1% does. You want to be extraordinary? You want to be a statistic buster? You do it. 3 quick ways. Number 1, eat more salads. Now, before you start complaining about bringing your salad spinner out of your cupboard, before you start talking about the gravel you're going to have to get out of your spinach, let me just say, salad has never been easier. You go to your health food store, you buy these pre-washed bags of salad, they're organic, they have all these great greens, you open them up, put them in a bowl, put some healthy dressing and protein in there, you're good to go. It's the 2-minute bachelor's solution to eating greens. I did a lot of that before I was married. Anybody can do it. Number 2, drink green juice. Now this is something that everybody loves to do, at least for 3 days. You up one night late, you watch an infomercial, you order a juice. It arrives, you open it up, you go to your health food store, and you show up at the cashier with 8 bunches of celery, parsley, zucchini, spinach, and then of course the person turns to you and says, wow, you must be a juicer. And you say, yes, I'm a juicer, because you feel good about yourself, it's cool to juice. You go home, you juice, it tastes really good, this was so easy, Jack was right. And then, what he didn't tell you that you read on the fine print is, in order to clean, go find your oldest toothbrush and scrub vigorously for 4 hours. Juicing is not something a lot of people do every day. Now, I drink green juice every day. I don't juice every day. I juice about every 3 days. And I put unheated honey in the juice to preserve it, put it in really tight glass jars, or when I travel, stainless steel canteens. Folks, I stayed at a hotel called the Wingate tonight with a fridge about this big. I drank green juice this morning. Did you? It's not that difficult if you really put your mind to it. But because most people won't, and I knew that 12 years ago, I created a solution. It's called Perfect Food. It is raw organic green juice in a powder, or if you're a wimp, it comes in capsules. If you will drink Perfect Food raw, which is our latest version, in water or juice every morning for 30 days, you will crave it the 31st day instead of what you normally need to drink in the morning so you can open your eyes. Folks, our bodies were created to respond to real foods. The nutrients in greens, which are just not available in other foods, the trace minerals, the antioxidant enzymes, the proteins that are most similar to animal proteins out of the whole vegetable kingdom, and the chlorophyll, the cleansing and detoxifying green blood of plants, cannot be replaced in food today. By taking Perfect Food every day, by juicing when you can, and eating salads, you'll get a 99.9% on your health grade by Professor Rubin. And I'm happy to give that out if you'll step up to the plate. 30 days, and on the 31st, that's what we crave. Folks, starting out with the gut is critical to building a healthy foundation for your health. If you're going to build a building, the first thing you do is clear out the weeds and lay a foundation, and then take care of the rest. We've done that, and now we're at key number 2, which is eat raw nutrients. I'm going to teach you what you never learned and probably don't want to know about vitamins and minerals. Everyone knows what they are, right? Wrong. In fact, vitamins and minerals, when discovered by Polish scientist Dr. Casimir Funk, were originally these charged tiny molecules in food called vital amines. Later, shortened to vitamins. The first, vitamin B1, or thiamine. And that began the great vitamin revolution, or as I'm going to talk about, the great vitamin hoax. Fast forward 80-some years. Research headlines. Older women who consume a multivitamin, a regular multivitamin, greater risk of breast cancer. Fast forward 80 years. Headline. Those who consume regular calcium, more likely to get heart disease. Now everybody's angry in the industry, but I'm not. Bottom line, folks, nutrients, vitamins, and minerals come from food. Casimir Funk and others found fragments that under a microscope look kind of like the vitamins, recreated them in laboratories from petroleum, the byproduct of the film development industry, and good old-fashioned rock. Folks, when you order your vitamin E and the supplier is Eastman Kodak, that should tell you something. Now, they might make great pictures, but that's not the vitamin that I'm looking for. I kind of described it this way. If you're flying over Chicago and you want to transplant a city block and identically create the vibe and everything in that thriving block, but you see the Sears Tower and you just say, we're just going to move that. You don't move any of the supportive infrastructure, none of the restaurants. You're not going to have what you look at from a helicopter or a plane and think is everything is really just one component of the whole, and that's what vitamin and minerals are. I learned a good lesson about vitamins and minerals from my ranch. We got there and our soil was in pretty bad shape, very acidic. In order to bring the soil pH up, most ranchers in southern Missouri lime the fields. I'm thinking, what in the world is that? Well, it's easy. You call Bob at the rock quarry, limestone pit, and ask him how much lime costs for a ton. Lucky for us, it's $15 a ton these days. That's 2,210 pounds for 15 bucks. 1 to 3 tons per acre on fields that had scrub, no grass, brush, we just kind of cleared. But the limestone that I don't use and our neighbors don't use in southern Missouri gets shipped to vitamin and mineral manufacturers as calcium carbonate and calcium citrate. The number one source of calcium in America today is rock. And you wonder why people have kidney stones, calcification of the arteries, calcium deposits in your joints, and in your brain you've got plaque. You are what you eat, right? So you're eating rocks. Could it be that we're becoming one? I want to teach you 2 principles about nutrients you need to know. Number 1, nutrient intelligence. What that means is that the calcium in your yogurt, kale, or almonds knows when you eat it to get into your bones and teeth, but not in your kidneys, arteries, brain, and joints. Why? Because calcium inside food isn't alone. It's got other vitamins and minerals, probiotics and enzymes, and a sequence of proteins, amino acids that direct the calcium into your cells where it belongs, a chaperone, an escort. Rock doesn't have it. Secondly, I haven't come up with a fancy name for this, or a short one, but it is, you don't know what you don't know. Which means, just because science says there's 19 B vitamins, we know there used to be 12. But before that, there were 8, 6, 4, and 1. What if there's really 47? Are you going to wait for the guy at the lab to create it from petrochemicals before you eat it? No. Nutrient intelligence comes from food. The most intelligent foods are raw, because when raw foods are cooked, treated, and adulterated, they lose their potency and cofactors that are needed for their utilization. If I were to offer you an apple from a tree, or applesauce made from the apple that came from the tree, which would you choose? The apple. Now, you might not know that the apple has phytochemicals that are destroyed by peeling. You might not know that by heating, pulverizing, pureeing, that you're going to lose all the enzymes and much of the water-soluble vitamins. But it just intuitively makes sense. Now, Matson Gerber doesn't want you to know that, but it's not the same thing. It's the same apple, but when you heat it, treat it, process it, it's not the same.